Welcome to Proof of Ergo, episode 10. I'm James Kever, and it's been a wild few weeks with a certain cryptocurrency merging and adopting a new consensus protocol going from proof of work to proof of stake. Well, many of those Ethereum miners needed a new proof of work crypto to mine, and a lot of them came to Ergo, at least briefly. It's an adventure that continues to play out to this day, and we're going to give you all the details and then talk to Glasgow of the Ergo Foundation for his take on what happened and the proposed solution. We'll also talk with front-end developer for the Cyberverse project featuring playable CyberCitizen NFTs. We've got the details on how this project stands apart from other NFT projects. And finally, ErgoPOS, a point-of-sale system built on the Ergo blockchain. We talked to a developer on their team about what the project is and what they hope to do. But before we get into all of that, a quick reminder that we're on all the major podcast platforms for both video and audio-only versions of the show. And if you happen to be watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe, hit that bell notification, and show us some love in the comment section. It is very much appreciated. And just a quick tip about the difference between the audio-only version of Proof of Ergo versus the video version you can always find on YouTube. They are alike in every way, but sometimes the video version will have subtitles, so you can always check that out if you're missing something from the audio version only. All right, it's been an interesting ride the past few weeks on Ergo, and that's putting it mildly. With Ethereum transitioning consensus protocols from proof of work to proof of stake, Ethereum's miners found themselves in need of a new proof of work cryptocurrency to mine. Many of those miners moved over to Ergo. It was a common belief that Ergo's price would increase with more hash power, so in the lead up to Ethereum's transition, price of Ergo did increase. However, Ergo has a difficulty algorithm that's designed to maintain an average time of 2 minutes to create new blocks by matching the difficulty of the puzzles miners need to solve to the amount of power miners have on the network, sometimes referred to as the network's hash rate. Normally, when the hash rate changes are fairly steady, this system works really well, as it uses the average hash rate over the past 8 epochs, with there being 1,024 blocks per epoch. This takes around a day and a half. So each time the difficulty adjusts, the algorithm is taking an average of the hash over the past 8 epochs, or roughly the past 11 days. Sudden spikes or sudden drops, however, can take a really long time to be fully reflected in the difficulty, and this is the current situation we're seeing with the Ergo network right now. With more difficulty and more miners, fewer miners were making a profit, so some miners just moved to other proof-of-work blockchains, while some just turned their rigs off entirely. There's still more miners than before the transition, but the difficulty is too high to maintain the 2-minute block times. With fewer blocks, miners get paid less frequently, and so even more miners are leaving or turning off their rigs. It's just a vicious cycle. When Ethereum completed its transition, this instability also helped decrease Ergo's price. The influx of so many miners showed there was room to improve the difficulty algorithm. So the question is, should it be fixed? One thing to consider, faster difficulty adjustment times open attack vectors on the network. One such attack is a time warp attack, which occurs when a miner manages to put an incorrect timestamp into the blocks in order to reduce subsequent mining difficulty. Successfully pulling this off, however, would require 51% control of the network. Now, on the other hand, Ethereum's transition showed there are problems with slower block times as well. So how can the difficulty algorithm be improved? Well, that is the question of all questions right now. If a lot of this stuff seems over your head, don't worry, you're not alone. To help us better understand what's going on, we've reached out to a member of the Ergo Foundation to help clarify what's happened here and what's being done to address it. He goes by Glasgow, and if you're not already following him on Twitter, you really should be. He's always bent over backwards to help me understand these very complicated topics. Glasgow, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Can you describe the problem that Ethereum's migration to proof of stake showed in Ergo's difficulty algorithm?
Yeah, well, so Ergo's difficulty algorithm changes the difficulty at which coins are mined to try and keep the block times stable at 2 minutes. It does this by updating difficulty every epoch, which is set at 1,024 blocks, using an average of the past eight epochs, so 8,000 blocks. This is an improvement on Bitcoin's algorithm and performs better against an attacker if they only have 20% hash to go about. However, the Earth merge created a kind of unnatural event where 95% of all the hashing power in the world suddenly without a home. So we've seen a steady kind of increase in hash starting from the start of September, 15 terahash, and it went up to about 250 at the peak. Since the frenzy of the merge kind of driven up over so many epochs, it would take just as many to bring it back down, which kind of puts you in a kind of difficult situation where the price drops and hash will drop. It takes you longer to get to the next epoch. So those are kind of the main issues that it highlighted.
All right, so can Ergo's difficulty algorithm be changed?
Yeah, it can be changed through a hard fork, which can be suggested through an EIP, which is an Ergo improvement proposal. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that next. Could you talk about EIP37 or Ergo Improvement Proposal 37? What is it, and what does it aim to do?
So it's a proposal for a hard fork, which will make the difficulty adjustment algorithm more kind of reactive. So instead of smoothing it over big blocks, which are 1,024, big epochs, which are 1,024 each, the epoch length is set to 128. So it uses 8 of those of 128 blocks, and then it's also got some extra stuff where it takes the classic predictive difficulty and doesn't let it increase or decrease more than 50% each change.
Glasgow, who decides to make changes like EIP37 on Ergo, and how are they executed?
Well, anyone can really make a proposal. This one was ultimately proposed by Christie. So the slow adjustment can be a problem. I handful of times before in the past when price suddenly dropped. But the pain was kind of short-lived, and an EIP never materialised because of that reason. Because difficulty algorithms, adjustment algorithms are quite complex. So you need quite an experienced developer who's also experienced in that area and willing to take on an EIP. And most are kind of happy, waiting for more hash rate to come to see if it kind of even things out without the requirement of a hard fork. But since the merger caused a dramatic increase, there was concerns raised about like a kind of death spiral with that scenario that I described before, whereas price dropped, people could leave and it could get longer. Well, I don't think this is like a real danger. I'd plugged some numbers in roughly, and even with a steady drop, we would have got there eventually. Luckily, the community stepped in, they threw the hash on, and got us in like epoch sooner. One of the community devs, Cheese Enthusiast, he offered to help draft the EIP when the miners initially kind of voiced their concerns. And eventually, Christie started running simulations and put the proposal up while encouraging others to make competing proposals.
All right, so maybe you can talk about some of the pros and cons of making a change in the algorithm like this.
Yeah, the main kind of con is that it can cause community splits. If it's a controversial change that's kind of been proposed, some may choose to stay on the old chain, as we've seen with ETC after the DAO hack. And they decided to kind of cut off those coins and fork. And we've got a new chain, ETC. But since this change is pretty simple and kind of not controversial, the risk is a lot lower. The main kind of drawback is you need to kind of get all the nodes to upgrade, or they'll have serious issues after the hard fork or inconvenience at the very least. This is all the pools, the apps, the exchanges, wallets, any node in the network basically, with the main priority being the pools, which we now mostly have support signaling, yes.
So you mentioned the nodes here, and I think it's real interesting. That's how the miners are voting, by what node they are running. Can you talk about the different types of changes, the forks, the velvet fork, the soft fork, the hard fork, and Ergo's approach to each, and in the context of how these miners are actually voting, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So a velvet fork was introduced by the ErgoPOS paper. So this only requires a minority group of nodes to upgrade. they can make use of a scheme, even if only some blocks in the chain can include that interlink structure. This allows for like a gradual deployment without harming the miners that haven't upgraded the new rules. A soft fork is when some nodes require to upgrade. So we've got the recent reemission soft fork EIP37. So this was possible as it was enforced via the miner nodes and protocol rules. So other nodes could continue running without the update and they would still work on the network. The miners should send the Erg to a smart contract to make an exchange to kind of get that lower rate. These can be approved with 90% support from miners. And then we've got a hard fork. So these require all nodes to upgrade. Ergo kind of aims to avoid these unless critical. We did have one last January when we removed non-outsourceable puzzles, which was the pool resistance. After we discovered that people kind of using smart contracts to pair together and act like pools anyway. Aim to avoid these can be passive critical and 90% support again.
All right, Glasgow, we really appreciate you coming on the show and answering our questions. And I'd just like to thank you personally for being so helpful on Twitter and Telegram. You've helped me a couple of times, and you're just such a wonderful resource for people out there. We'll be sure to get your social links in the description of this video, and I would love to talk again when something big's going on next.
Yeah, no problem, anytime. Just at me in the socials or hit me up.
Non-fungible tokens, at least for a lot of the artistic ones, work very much like tradable baseball cards. Some are more valuable than others because of the rarity of the card. Well, then came along Magic the Gathering, an innovation on baseball cards, you might say, because now there was a game where players need cards to compete with one another and to play the game. And the cards for the game also had limited numbers and developed value based on its rarity. I bring this up because our next guest is working a project that very much innovates using NFTs, much the same way Magic the Gathering did for baseball trading cards. His name is Mongo, and he does communications and front-end development for Cyberverse, which features CyberCitizen playable character NFTs. And just for reference, this is the same team that brought Ergo Pixel NFTs to life. Mongo, thank you so much for calling in today.
It's good to be here.
First, if you would start by giving us the elevator pitch on what Cyberverse is and how the CyberCitizen NFTs stand apart from other NFT projects out there.
So the Cyberverse what we essentially plan to have people get access to various games and various, they can play with each other, they can take part in activities, they can do all sorts of things. But the main thing is, so CyberCitizens, they will be playable characters within the Cyberverse. And there were 2,081 of those minted. And there's tons of different traits and combinations for these NFTs. And that's what makes them truly unique. And I found that a lot of projects, they might have like really, really good artwork, but they don't really have any utility. Like it's just essentially a picture, you know? And so we believe that at Cyberverse, we believe that offering like various types of utility with your NFT is the best way to capture a larger audience. So not only will they be playable characters in your game, they'll give you access to special areas, they'll give you special perks and all sorts of things, which you can find in our white paper.
Awesome. Is it fair to say CyberCitizens is a gaming platform?
I wouldn't say a gaming platform, because in the future we do hope to have a wide range of activities and games available for people, but these will all be created by us, and they'll be available through a multitude of cities. And essentially, once you have your CyberCitizen, you'll gain access to all the special areas and all the perks within the Cyberverse.
All right, so would it be fair to call the Cyberverse a metaverse of sorts?
You could kind of say that. I wouldn't exactly say that, because if you look up what exactly a metaverse is, you'll find that pretty much every definition has the addition of some sort of virtual reality element. And that's not exactly what we're trying to create. We could be considered a metaverse in the fact that we allow players to have real-time interactions and experiences with each other, with the multiplayer aspect. But as of currently, I don't think we'd fit into that definition, but we've kind of coined our own term for it, which is the Cyberverse.
All right, I'm following that. I wonder, though, if you could get specific about some of the features of the Cyberverse and the CyberCitizens NFTs, like NFT upgrades, for instance. Can you give me an example of how this would work and how your users are going to want to do this?
So yeah, it's something we were planning to experiment with. And so we still have 990 CyberCitizen NFTs available to sell. And so during that drop, we're going to be randomly giving out serums and body parts. And so the serums, you can find in our white paper. They're a little more mysterious. So we're not sure what the exact effects are. So we'll have to find out later on. But the body parts, which you can find in our white paper as well. I think there's 12 in total that will be given out during the mint. And they can only be used on a robotic trait. So there's a trait known as the robotic. So some NFTs have robotic arms or robotic face. So you can actually, if you get that, you can upgrade it on your NFT, or you can upgrade that robotic trait using another robotic trait into like an even rarer robotic trait. And if you don't own an NFT with a robotic trait, you could probably sell it on the marketplace for someone who does have a robotic trait or looking to upgrade it.
All right, well, I'm curious where the inspiration for the Cyberverse came from. What's the story there?
Yeah, so you mentioned Ergo Pixels at the start. That's where it all started. So Ergo Pixels were 250 hand-drawn NFTs of just various celebrities, famous individuals, and well-known individuals, and imaginary characters. And at that time, the Ergo community was much smaller, but we got a lot of support on it, surprisingly, and people really liked the designs. So that's when we planned to try and expand. And so we created the generation 2, the CyberCitizens. So Ergo Pixels was generation 1. And now we have generation 2, CyberCitizens. And then we started to think of just ways we could add utility to it. And things like being a playable character, giving areas to or special access to areas, as well as real estate, things like that, having the ability to decorate your real estate if you own any. And so we originally minted 2,081, and we sold the first 1,000 to help fund the project. And then the last 990 we've been holding, and we plan to sell it soon, but it's going to be a higher mint price justified by all of the utility we've added over about a year or two now. So that would also also reward any holders who bought like a lot earlier if they supported us. So yeah, and we've also named our first city with the help of our community. It's known as Siberia, and you can find the map and stuff on it on our website.
Wonderful. I was curious about the timeline for the project. What can people expect as we move forward?
So with how things are going currently, we hope to have the game accessible for beta testers by the end of November at the latest. So this would include access to the game, staking within the bank, access to the museum, the club, and as well as access to your apartment. So if you know, we had a apartment NFT drop, I think it was a couple of months ago. And so these apartments, there's 4 sizes, and they were 40 ERG each, and we sold out pretty much instantly. But they basically will act as your NFTs in the game. And if you own one, you can go into your apartment and you can actually decorate it any way you want. And so the furniture during the testing phase will be available to all the beta testers, so we can find all the bugs and whatnot. But soon, like as we get that figured out, we want to move into adding jobs into the game. So once all that's stable and all that's been tested, so jobs are essentially what you think they are. So you can be like a fisherman or something like that. And so you'll get XP and things like that by doing various tasks. And there'll be a leaderboard keeping track of everyone's XP so we can hold various competitions and whatnot. We've had competitions like this in the past, our Dino game. So we have some experience doing stuff like that, as well as the final. So after that, we hope to add 4 or 5 unique jobs. You can find them in our white paper. Like we have the concept for one of them done, and the other ones we're still kind of figuring out. And after we're done that, we hope to add in multiplayer functionality so players can actually play with each other and actually interact and whatnot.
Now, Mongo, CyberCitizens is going to have a token, right? An initial decentralized exchange offering. I'm assuming it's going to happen on Spectrum. Can you talk about the tokenomics and utility of what that coin's going to offer?
Yeah, so we do plan to have an in-game token. You can find the tokenomics on our white paper. And so you can find the in-game allocation for the tokenomics is 205 million. So that's all going to be allocated to staking rewards and rewards for in-game. So things like staking, and it's also going to be used as the fee for our platform. So anytime you make a transaction, you will have to actually pay a small amount of cyberpixels. And we also have about 15.7 million tokens locked up in the DAO. And essentially that's for the community votes on how we use that. So in things like emergencies, we can maybe reach out to the community and ask, should we maybe look into using the DAO funds for this? And we've got about 30 million set aside for marketing and airdrops. If you've read our white paper, we have a community wallet. And that's essentially where those tokens will be, because they'll be basically for giveaways and whatnot that we plan, as well as used for marketing. And then we also plan to have a liquidity farm on Spectrum. And so 60.7 million tokens are allocated to that. And then, yeah, so that pretty much goes through what we have planned for now for the token.
Sounds like you guys have been very busy. What about stake around dates and when the IDO opens up for the general public?
Yeah, so we do have some dates here. We have the stake around whitelist period will be open from October 18th to the 31st. And on the 31st, the time isn't 100% yet. That'll be when the staker snapshot is taken. And then for the contribution round, that's November 1st to 8th. And then the seed round whitelist is on November 14th, and the seed round contribution period, November 15 to 21. And the seed round waitlist, November 22 to 25. And then finally, we have the IDO on November 30th.
All right, communications and front-end developer for Cyberverse, the same folks who brought you ErgoPixel NFTs. Mongo, thank you so much for your time today. We'll be sure to include Cyberverse's IDO information in the description of this video, and we'd love to talk again in the future.
Yep, thanks for having me.
If Ergo is to be adopted by the masses, there are a few problems that need to be worked out, like access for both consumers and merchants. One such project aims to solve this problem, providing point-of-sale technology and payment solutions for just about anyone who takes money. Our next guest, LaShawn, she's a mobile developer with ErgoPOS and has graciously agreed to take a few of our questions. Thank you, LaShawn, so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Sam.
First, can you start by telling us about ErgoPOS? What is it, and what does it do?
Okay. ErgoPOS is a blockchain payment solution consisting of a hardware POS terminal and software that combine the blockchain and the real business world. I use a few words to describe ErgoPOS. It's a mobile convenience, billing, and cryptocurrency. If you want to learn more, feel free to check out our white paper or can join our Telegram group.
Yes, and I'll be sure to include those links in the description of this video. Now, you mentioned the hardware POS terminal. Who's going to buy this hardware?
People often have the first impression that POS is a fabrication equipment in the supermarket or restaurant. In fact, there are many more scenarios where POS systems are needed in the business world. Due to the convenience and mobility of ErgoPOS, ErgoPOS is ideal for business that need to the business outdoor, especially if they need to drive around a different place to make deliveries and sales and service.
All right, so aside from the ability to support crypto payments, what else does this device do?
Even if your customer do not accept cryptocurrency payment, you can still use ErgoPOS as a mobile receipt issue tool. It is small, but already has various basic functions, such as, and first is it allow you to set different price for your different customers. And the second is allow you to manage your customer data and product data. And the third is allow you to print receipt and invoice. The last one is support the tax code and tax rate of different countries.
Yeah, and this is a very ambitious project. You're sure your team can pull this off?
Yes, of course we do. Although this is our first blockchain-related project, and we have many years of experience in software development, and I believe that developing software is not our biggest challenge, but running this business and serving this economy turns out is our biggest challenge.
All right, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to say to the community?
I would like to thank the community members who have supported us. We are all here together, and I hope we can become a family. And we encourage and love each other. Most importantly, we will do our best to develop operate this business to earn the maximum return for our community members and make them feel proud to be a part of ErgoPOS.
LaShawn, mobile developer with ErgoPOS, a payment solution built on the Ergo blockchain. Thank you so very much for coming on the show today. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, check out the description of this newscast for more information on the guests and their projects, as well as IDO dates for the Cyberverse CyberCitizens NFT project. And finally, a shout out to sponsors of this show, Ergopad and Ergo Launchpad, working with too many projects on Ergo to even count. They were the first to bring Layer 2 staking to the Ergo network, and without them, this show would just not be possible. To find out more about Ergopad, head on over to their website, ergopad.io. All right, folks, I'm James Kever, and we will see you next time on Proof of Ergo.